Welcome back, guys. Welcome to Cloud DevOps Batch 53. So before I start the session, I would like to give a quick recap on what's being covered in the previous session. So previous session, we majorly focused on how can we save billing using spot instances, and what is a spot instances, and how to choose spot instance, and how it is an instance template, and what is an instance configuration. These are the things that we have learned. And from today, since we got the cloud account, server creation, all these things we are well aware of it, so we'll try to start the most important thing of our journey, which is nothing but the Linux. Let's try to start with that. Okay, we'll focus more on Linux. So before we learn Linux, we need to understand in Linux everything is a file. Linux is case sensitive, which means if you write a file with small letter a.txt and capital letter a.txt, both of them are different as per Linux, and there is no concept of recycle bin. If you delete something accidentally, you lost that. Okay, so let's proceed further, guys. Okay, since yesterday I have created a template, let me launch the instance with the template. Going forward, I extensively use spot instances. Okay, let me go to trainer.manoverma. So this is not my account for this batch, trainer.manoverma. Trainer.manoverma, let me sign in. Now let me show you how quick things are going to be. So let me launch to EC2. So come here and launch the instance template. Okay, and this is my spot instance template. Just launch the instance. Okay, launch the instance from the template, which is going to launch me the instance. That's it. Okay, so all you need to select is you need to choose. Okay, you need to choose proceed without a key pair. That's it. You just click it, it's going to create a server to you. Now my server is created. Now my server is created, my Linux server, Linux practice server. All right, now copy the server, copy the IP address of it and try to connect it. SSH, CentOS, username @IP address. Let's try to connect and accept and save. Now it prompts you to enter the username and password. Enter the username and password. Okay, I think I entered the wrong password. Okay, password 123 is the password. And once you're connected to the server, this is the prompt that you'll get. Okay, this is the prompt that you'll get. So whatever the commands and whatever the description of each and every command that we are going to use is already enclosed here. So today after the session, we are going to publish this with you guys. Okay, so whatever the Linux that we are going to cover, everything is documented here. So you don't have to technically take any notes. Okay, so everything is going to be enclosed here. Okay, which I am going to publish it in a short time after the class. Okay, after the class along with the session, you'll be getting that. Okay, so first let's try to understand what is, okay, in Linux everything is a command. Okay, as I said, in Linux everything is a command. Okay, so in Linux everything is a file. In the file, you completely operate Linux using commands only. Okay, let's try to see.
Hey Manoj, Ranjit here.
Sorry, I was on mute. So this is the syntax of any command. So whatever the command that you wish to use and followed by the options. What is an option? What is a command? Let's see that. Okay. Since I have connected to the Linux server, so I would like to tell you, okay, what all commands that you can use. For example, one of the most commonly used command is uname. Okay, uname is a command which tells you who you are. It is telling it is a Linux. Okay, it is Linux, but it has a lot of other options. It has a lot of other options. Linux is the only operating system or the only machine, okay, when you want to explore something, you don't have to go to the internet and search. Majority of the times you get everything, okay, in the system itself. How to do that, we'll talk about it. And second thing, in Linux you have okay, in Linux it has a number of options, and from command to command and flavor to flavor and distribution to distribution, commands vary. Okay, but the process and the strategy remains the same, but the commands sometimes vary. Okay, should be very careful on that. Okay, for example, if you want to see, okay, what the command does. Okay, man is nothing but manual. Okay, I want to know the manual of uname. If you just say that, it's going to show you all the information. So uname is a command which is going to print the system information. So if you use either you can use hyphen a or hyphen all. Okay, whenever you're using the complete name, you need to give hyphen hyphen. Okay, or if you want to give shortcut, you can also call hyphen hyphen all with hyphen a. Okay, both of the syntaxes are same. Okay, in majority of the times you see both of them. Okay, either you can use hyphen hyphen all or hyphen a. For example, if you want to know the kernel name, okay, very important question, how do you know the kernel version of your Linux server? Okay, all these things can be seen in the help panel as well. Okay, so all right, so let's try to see that. So hyphen a hyphen hyphen kernel name hyphen hyphen, okay, hyphen res. Okay, if you want to know the kernel version, you can use hyphen b, and if you want to see all the system properties, you can use hyphen a. So just press Control C to come out of this prompt. Okay, Control C or Control Z to come out of the prompt. Uname hyphen a, it is going to give you all the system properties. Okay, in a row it is giving you. Now among all, what I want is I only want to know the kernel version. I want to know the kernel version. So you can use hyphen v option. So kernel v hyphen v. Okay. So okay, it's telling the kernel version is 2.6.3. For example, if you want to see some other option, okay, so what are all the available options? You can see the same man page and what is the kernel name, what is the kernel release, and what is the kernel version, what is the machine type, okay, and what is the processor type. Okay, all this information can be seen from the uname. Okay, uname is one of the most popular command, so it goes shows you the printer processor. Okay, so just like how when you are buying a Windows computer, when you're buying a computer, how do you check? Okay, what all you check is what is the CPU, what is the memory, right? And again, in the earlier days, we have two options of CPUs. That means 32-bit processor and 64-bit processor. 32-bit processor and 64-bit processors are something how many bits that you can the processor can process, starting from CentOS and Red Hat, and they even stopped using 32-bit. Majority of the companies and your computers are 32-bit, 64-bit, and wherever you see x86 64, that means your operating system or your hardware, not operating system, your hardware is a 64-bit operating system. All right, so that's it. That's how you can see the processor information. Okay, now this is the syntax. Okay, command followed by the option. Okay, so whatever the option that you want, you can choose that. Okay, that is one of the thing. And next, whenever you're buying any computer, you use something called as CPU, memory, disk, right? So first let's try to start with that only. How do you see the CPU? Okay, memory related information, CPU, memory, and disk related information. Okay, these three are the important information that I'm aware of it. Also, I would like to see what is the okay OS version, flavor. What is the flavor that I'm using? That also I would like to check. Okay, so as I said in yesterday's session, in Linux everything is a file. Okay, in Linux everything is a file. So whenever you want to see the information of something, you need to read a file. You need to read a file. All the system configurations are going to be resided inside a directory called as etc. Okay, etc is a directory where all the system configuration resides. Okay, few people will call it as a XC, few people will call it as etc. Anything is fine. Okay, majority of the times people address that as etc directory where all the system configuration resides. Okay, unlike Windows. Okay, unlike Windows. Okay, in Windows you use backward slash, right? Backward slash C. Inside that users, and inside that Verma, and inside that like that you use, right? But in Linux you use forward slash rather than using the backward slash. For example, if you want to see your system information, okay, for example, if you want to see the system information, what you do, you type Windows E, you type Windows E, which is going to show you, and inside that click the okay this PC, and if you do a right click, you can see the system properties, right? Which tells you my system, my computer has 32 gig of RAM, which is really good. And this is a 64-bit operating system of x64 based processor. And then it is a 2.8 gigahertz processor. And then it is the computer name is this, and it is using Windows 7. And the hardware provider is Lenovo. And the hardware provider is Lenovo. So likewise, you have you how you see the system information of a Windows. Similarly, you can also see the same set of information from Linux as well. But rather than using the graphical user interface, everything goes with a command. Everything goes with a command. For example, if you want to see the CPU, if you want to see the flavor or the operating system version of your server, how do you do that? Okay, so you need to read a file. You need to read a file. Cat is a command to read a file. Okay, cat is a command to read a file. Command to read a file in Linux. Okay, so whatever I'm explaining, everything I have enclosed it here. Cat is a command to read a file. Okay, now I would like to cat. Okay, this command is common in any flavor of Linux. Cat, the command cat is to read a file. Okay, cat / and etc. Okay, etc is a directory, and inside the etc directory, I have star release. Okay, star is nothing but include everything. Okay, I want to read the files that are starting with release. This. Now it is telling the CentOS release is 7.9.2009 and version is 7 and it is CentOS Linux. Okay, and it is from the family of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It's also called as Fedora Linux. All right, this is how you know the this is how you can know the your operating system related information. Okay, cat is a command to read a file. Etc is a directory where all the system configuration related information is available. Among all, release star is a file which shows all the files that are started with release, irrespective of the flavor of Linux. So star release gives you the flavor of Linux. Okay, so how do you see the flavor of Linux? This is how you can see that. Okay, that's what we have mentioned. If you want to see the system information, you can see that here. But how about hardware related information? Just now I have checked how I shown you my CPU information, my memory information, my hard disk information, all such things. So similarly, you also need to read the file if you want to if you want to know the information. Okay, and another important thing, every time when I hit the command, I'm clearing the screen, right? So that every time I'm hitting on the top of the screen, the command to do that is clear. Clear is going to erase the screen and is going to post your cursor on the top of the screen. Or you can alternatively use Control plus L. Okay, so I'm pressing Control and L, which is going to clear the screen. All right, so what we learned, cat xc star release is a command which is going to show you what is the flavor of Linux and what is the version of Linux and when it was released, and all such information you can get it here. You can also find who is the parent version as well. Here the ID like is like the parent version which is being extracted from the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So we know how to see the CPU related information, and similarly if you want to know the CPU and memory related information, same you need to do. Okay, but all the CPU and memory related information is available and inside a directory called as proc. Okay, proc is a directory where you can see all the hardware CPU and memory related information. You can type something called as CPU info, which is going to show you the CPU related information. It is going to give you a lot of information, way a lot of information than what is needed to you guys. Okay, this much information is available to you. Okay, among all, you are interested to know whether it is Intel processor or not. There are majority in two types of processor, right? Intel processors and AMD processors, and the market share of Intel is way high. So you can say that Intel, okay, so this is an Intel supplied processor, just like how you have, okay, Intel 2.7 gigahertz, 2.8 gigahertz, 3.2 gigahertz processor speed, clock speed, okay. So each and every server edition of your processor has a lot of names. Xeon processors, a lot of other variants are there. Okay, you can see what exactly the hardware, okay, your server is spawned up. Okay, and along with that some other information is there. How much is the cache size, how many number of cores, how many number of physical cores are there, all such information can also be there. But all you need to do is what is the clock speed and who is the provider of it and what is the variant of it. That's it. Okay, this is how you can see the CPU and memory related information, and the processor that is allocated to you is 2.5 gigahertz clock speed. Okay, 2.5 gigahertz clock speed is the processor speed of your CPU which is allocated to you. Okay, and the number of cores that are allocated to you is 1. Okay, so this is one CPU, there is one CPU that is allocated to you. All right, that's it. Because we have created T3 micro. T3 micro gives you, okay, T2 micro gives you one CPU and 1 gig of memory. Okay, that's it. Now I'm doing a clear. I'm pressing Control L, which is going to clear my screen. Next, now how do you see the memory related information? Now I know how to read the CPU information. Now how do I read the memory related information? Instead of CPU, just mention meminfo. Meminfo is also a file which is going to show you the memory related information. The moment you hit cat is going to read the file and it's going to show you that information. It is telling I have allocated 3.8 gigs of memory. Okay, out of which 3.5 gig of memory is free and 3.4371 is something which is untouched memory. Okay, you can see that here it is showing you in KB. So KB to MB you can do a conversion. So I know that it is going to be GB, 3.8 GB. You can say KB to GB. Okay, just go and say how much KB. Tells that it is 3.8 GB of memory. All right, now you know how to read the system information, like what is the CPU, what is the memory, okay, and what is the operating system, which flavor, all these things can be seen. Now, how about, okay, the number of disks that are attached? How about the number of disks that are attached? For example, if you consider this as your Linux machine, this is your Linux server, and for this server at the moment only one disk is attached, right? Which is nothing but your root disk. Okay, a root disk is nothing but where your operating system is installed is referred as root disk. Okay, right now we are well aware that only one disk is attached to my server. Okay, now how do you check the number of disks that are attached? How do I check that? How do I check the number of disks that are attached? Again, that's also the command only. lsblk is a command. List the block devices. Can you see this? You can see it has attached one disk only. Okay, it has attached only one disk and the size of the disk is 5 GB. And the size of the disk is 5 GB. You can attach n number of disks for a single server. Okay, so if this is your Linux server, it's not like you can attach only one disk. You can attach n number of disks. Disk 1, you can also attach a disk 1 and disk 2 as well. Okay, so this this, okay, you can attach two disks, you can attach two disks or three disks, anything of your choice. Okay, but if you want to attach a disk, you need to create a disk. If you want to attach a disk, you need to create a disk. Okay, now oftentimes you'll also get a request, hey, we ran out of disk and the database needs more storage, can you please increase the storage? Earlier, okay, since the storage is being managed by a separate team called storage, you used to raise a request to the storage team and the storage team is going to provision you the request and you are going to add that disk again to this. But now in the cloud space, it's going to be very quick. Okay, so in this server, go to the storage section, you click the disk, and select the disk, and I would like to increase it from 5 GB to 10 GB. All I do is modify the volume, and the moment you do the modify the volume, just say 10, which is going to increase the 10, and then modify it. Okay, the moment you modify it, okay, it will take some time to activate. I mean, the disk size will be expanded. For example, if you see this, so it is still in use, it is modifying, the status is not yet modified, it is still in the process of modifying, and that's the reason if you still lsblk, it still shows 5 GB only. Oh, it's added. Okay, can you see this? 10 GB disk is added, but it's not yet allocated yet. Okay, if you take a little time, it's going to allocate that as well. Okay, so optimizing, it takes 100%, and once it is 100%, you can see expand. And another important thing you need to understand is you can only expand the disk, you cannot shrink the disk. Okay, you can expand the disk. That means you can increase the size of the disk, but you cannot shrink it. Okay, that's the reason whenever you're expanding it, you need to think twice. If someone comes to you and says that expand it to 100 GB, okay, expand it to 100 GB from 5 GB, no, you should not do that. Okay, you need to understand the use case, why it is needed, then only you need to do. Okay, because it's costly. Okay, and the disks in Amazon are called as EBS volumes. EBS volumes. EBS stands for Elastic Block Storage. Elastic Block Storage. So this is called as Elastic Block Storage. In Amazon, as a part of the free tier, they gives you 30 GB of disk, not 30 GB, 5 GB of disk. How much they'll give you? Let me see that. AWS EBS free tier. So so I think 30 GB they give, if I'm not wrong. So how much they'll give? EFS, EBS. Yeah, they'll give you elastic block storage 30 GB. Okay, so 30 GB disk they'll give you as a part of the free tier. You get 30 GB disk. If you consume more than that, Amazon will start billing you. All right, and the name of the service which offers storage as a service to you is EBS. EBS stands for Elastic Block Storage. As a part of the free tier, uh, you get uh, you get 30 GB free. Okay, 30 GB free. So now I have increased the space. Right now you come here and refresh it. You can see that it's still optimizing. It will take little time. Okay, but you don't have to wait for it. Okay, in the backend it's going to update. Or sometimes if you want a quick action, you can also restart your server. That's how you can expand your server. Okay, expand your server. Now what is this forward slash? What exactly it meant? We'll see what exactly it is later, but now this is how you can see the list of disks that are attached to your server. Okay, you can also, okay, so for example, if you want to create one more disk and if you want to attach it, okay, for example, this is how your server is. Now you would like to create a server, you would like to attach one more disk. For example, if this is your Linux server, okay, root volume is nothing but a volume where your operating system is installed. Okay, we'll call it as a volume. Volume is nothing but disk. Okay, example, if this is your disk, previous volume. Okay, so wherever your operating system is installed, that is called as root volume. Okay, root volume, when one server can have n number of disks attached, but among all, you will only have one volume where you have operating system installed. Okay, that is called as root volume. Okay, that's called as root volume. Now, as per my business use case, I want to store all my application related data in a different disk. Okay, in a different disk. Now how can I do that? You can create one more disk and attach that. Okay, you can create one more disk and can attach that. For example, if you want to store all the application related data, you can create app volume. Okay, for example, you can create one more GB EBS 5 GB EBS volume and you can attach it. How can you do that? So come here in the same EBS volumes inside the elastic block storage, you can click the volumes. Okay, you can click the volume, you can click on create a volume. The moment you click a create volume, it asks you which zone you want to create. If your server is in US East 1A and if you're creating a disk in US East 1B, it will not work. Okay, so the server and the disk should be in the same region. Keep this point in mind. Okay, server and the disk should always be in the same zone. The same zone. Okay, if not, the server cannot see that. So before I create, I need to say where my server is. I need to look at where my server is, and based on that, I can create. Just click this. You can see your server is available in the US East 1C. Okay, now you have to create the disk in the US East 1C. Or I just need 8 GB of server. That's fine. Okay, US East 1C. That's it. Create the disk. Okay, it's here you are eliminating a lot of middlemen. Okay, you don't need anyone to do all these things on behalf of you. Okay, it also came in use. Now come here. Let's wait for it. LSBLK. Okay, LSBLK. Just try to restart the server. If you restart the server, it will show you 10 GB. Okay, sudo. Okay, if you, how do you restart a server? You come here and you click this and you try to restart the server. Okay, sometimes it will take little time to get that refreshed. Okay, sometimes it will take a little time based on based on the bootstrapping in the backend. Sometimes it will be real quick. Okay, so now I have created a disk. So, and I'm also restarting the server. So since you are restarting the server, your connection is terminated. Okay, your connection is terminated. Now, since your connection is
So, hey Manu, I
terminated,
have a question over here.
uh-huh,
So when we extended the root disk, we can do it on the fly, but
right.
we add an additional disk. So do we require to restart?
Yes, yes. So the answer is yes and no. So based on the type of instance that you're using, you need to restart certain times. For example, if you are going with T series, okay, T series, okay, it needs restart. For example, if you're using some other series, okay, when you're doing some other series, okay, that hardware dynamically identify the disk. Okay, clear? You got my point? The answer is yes and no based on the type of instance you're using. All right. And
So
this T
based on
series
a
servers,
type of instance, we can on the fly we can increase the disk.
exactly,
Doesn't
exactly,
require to repeat.
right. So based on the type of server you choose, you get the type of hardware. Certain type of hardware can flash, can extract, or can identify it dynamically. All right,
Okay.
perfect. So the answer is yes and no. So click the server and copy that 109. Disconnect. Okay, now you're connected. Now let's try to attach this server. Okay, meanwhile, let me try to attach the server. Yeah, sorry. Let me try to attach that. Yeah, sorry, my system was hung. All right, so now your server got for a hung. Now just say lsblk. Now can you see this? Your disk is expanded. Now earlier it has identified the 10 GB, but your system is not yet consumable. The moment you say 10 GB here, that means you can use the 10 GB. All right. So that's based on the type of instance. Okay, based on the instance type you're using, sometimes it will be dynamic. Okay. Now what I would like to do is I have created extra disk, right? I have created extra disk, right? Now I would like to add the disk to the Linux server. So how can I do that? So click this, click this, and this is the disk. And ensure when you are okay, you can attach one disk to one server at a time. You cannot add or mount. I'm going to use the word mount. You cannot mount the disk for more than one server at a time. Keep this point in mind. So since this volume is available, which means it is not attached to any server. Okay, that is the condition that you need to check. Now attach the volume to which server you would like to attach. I would like to attach it to, I have two servers among all. This is a server I would like to attach. Okay, and once it is attached, SDP is the name that you would get it. So come here. Now it's going to be
Sir,
attached.
do
It
we need
says
any
that.
downtime for this
Mhm.
when we are attaching the disk or when we are extending the disk?
There won't be any downtime. Okay, disk is an independent operation. Okay, now I have attached it. Now see the LSBLK. Can you see this? I have got one more disk. So I didn't any to restart, right? Can you see this? Earlier, when you're using the VMware machines or some legacy machines, when you're adding any disk, you need to do some disk scan or you need to restart. But now on cloud, things happen magically fast. Okay, this is how you can create disks and attach them. Okay, and the service name is okay, EBS. EBS stands for Elastic Block Storage. All right, guys. So, so the another thing that we need to know more is, okay, so we know about CPU, we know about memory, we know about the number of disks, and we know how to expand the disk, and we know how to attach one more disk, and we know that you cannot attach more than one disk to one server at a time. Okay, so multi-operation is not possible. All right, so HC, I don't know your name. So hello, sir. Sometimes use grow part command to get space increase. So whatever you're talking is called file system. That's not the case here. So next, so we know CPU, memory, disk, how to expand, how to delete. Okay, so such information, that's a basic information that is needed to know about your information, the system information, right? You need to know about the system information. Now you get it. Okay, now you get it. Now you know the, so now you go the system information. Now you know the system information. Now in from yesterday, we are continuously talking about in Linux, everything is a file, right? In Linux, everything is a file, right? Before going to files, I also want to tell you a couple of things. Okay, couple of things. First important point is, okay, in Linux there are two varieties of users that I didn't talk. I thought of starting. So in Linux there are two types of users. Users. One is privileged user. Is called as privileged user. Is nothing but root. Root is a privileged user. Root is like a super admin. just like your administrator account in Windows, right? So rest of the users are normal users. Normal users, rest of them, rest of the users. Okay, only if you want to update the system, or if you want to restart the system, or if you want to change any system properties, all these activities can be done only by the privileged user, and the name of the user is root. Okay, so there are two types of prompts. Okay, so whenever you see the prompt hash, that means that is a root user. Whenever you see the prompt as dollar, which means it is a normal user. So whenever you're going through any documentation, you'll see like this. Okay, so execute the command like this. So cat, okay, abxe abc, something like that, which means this command is executed by a normal user. If you see the same command as a hash user, that means this command is executed by the root user. Okay, hash means root user, dollar means a normal user. So where do I see the prompt? Go to your console, and here can you see this guys? It is starting with the dollar. Guys, can you see this? It is called as a dollar prompt. Whenever you see the dollar prompt, it is like a, again, that is not a hard coded statement. In Linux everything is customized. Okay, if the system is not customized, wherever you see, or in the official documentation wherever you see dollar, that means it is a, okay, unprivileged or a normal user, or a normal user. So 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 that is one thing that you need to understand. Okay, dollar prompt and hash prompt. Okay, even in the documentation we'll be using it more. All right, that's it. Now in Linux everything is a file, right? In Linux everything is a file. What if I say even the commands that you're using are also calling some files in the backend? Yes, in Linux everything is a file, and whatever the commands that you are using, cat, ls, uptime, okay, uname, all of them are some scripts which are written by different authors. Okay, and in the backend they are going to call some scripts. Okay, clear guys? So for example, in Linux, everything is a file, right? Now, if you want to know what is the command that it is being used, so for example, if you're using uname, and if you want to know what is the background that is happening, so for example, what is being called in the background, if you want to know that, just say type. Type is a command which tells what exactly the it is doing. Type uname. It is going to show you uname is hashed. Okay, this is what it is executing in the backend. Okay, so for example, if you type cat, okay, this is what it is executing in the backend. Everything is a file. Okay, so rather than you executing and going to this path all the time, they have created some shortcuts to you. Okay, so as I said, in Linux everything is a file. So how do you create a file? How do you create a file? So how do you create a file? Touch is a command to create a file. Okay, touch is a command to create a file. So if you want to create a file, touch is a command. Touch, whatever the name of the file that you wish to create, you can create the file. Okay, so I'm getting a couple of questions. So do I need to take notes? Guys, please don't take notes. Okay, please don't take notes. So we are going to share this with you. Okay, and also I could see one question in the chat window. Can we use mount command to attach the disk? Yes, Harthi, mount is a different segment. We'll talk about mount later, but for now mount is nothing but I'm trying to attach the disk. Okay, so what your context is a little different, we'll talk about that, or we'll address that later. All right,
Okay.
so so touch is a command to create a file. Okay, and in Linux there is no concept of extensions. Okay, this is also you need to understand. In Linux there is no file. In Linux there is no concept of file extensions like devops.txt, okay, cloud.ppt, okay, and p53.txt. No, there is no such concept. Okay, in Windows, guys, in Windows, if you want to open a file, okay, it should have an extension. The moment you click the button, it, okay, based on the extension, the notepad, since it is a .txt, your notepad application is going to open this file. Since it is .ppt, your PowerPoint presentation application is going to open the file. If it is .xls, that file is going to be opened by your Excel, Microsoft Excel. But in Linux, there is no such concept. But still, in Linux, you will see extensions a lot. Okay, why? Because since we are so used to Windows ecosystem, we tend to use more extensions. That is just for our human purpose only. For Linux machine, it doesn't matter whether it is a develops.txt or DevOps. For Linux, it is same. Linux, there is no concept of file.txt, and it has the least importance. Okay, whether you create .txt or normal file, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. All right. So in Linux, there is no concept of file extensions. There is no concept of okay. There is no concept of, there is a concept of case sensitivity. And in Linux, everything is a file. All right. Now I would like to create a file, and touch is a command to create a file. So I would like to create a file with the name devops.txt. As I said, there is no real meaning for, okay, txt or DevOps. Okay. So I have created a file. How do I come to know whether I have created a file or not? So in Linux, ls is a command which is going to list you all the files in this directory. Okay, I'm going to use the word folder. I'm going to use the word directory. Okay, folder, directory, almost they are likely terms. In Windows, you use the word folder. In Linux, you use the word directory. Both of them represents the same. Okay, so enter. It's going to show you the list of files. For example, you would like to create one more file, touch aws.ppt. Okay, now ls, it's going to show you the other file as well. For example, if you would like to create three files, touch a.ppt, b.txt, c.xls, and d.log. ls, it's going to show you all the files, a.ppt, aws.ppt, b.text, c.xlx, devops.txt, d.log. All the files are created in a short. Now, now how do I delete a file? How do I delete a file? rm is a command. Whenever you're using the rm command, think twice or thrice. Okay, once you delete, you cannot recover it. I'm repeating again, once you delete, you cannot recover it. Okay, rm file name. Okay, rm file name. Okay, rm file name, which is going to delete the file. Rm stands for remove. ls stands for list. These are the commands which are given by your native Linux. Okay, in almost all flavors of Linux, this command remains the same. Rm space file name, which is going to delete the file. The moment you delete the file, that's gone. Okay, the moment you delete the file, that's gone. rmppt ls. You can see a.ppt is not there. AWS PPT is not there. Now, how do you rename the file? Now, I don't like the file name as devops.txt. Now, I would like to change the name of the file as, okay, devops with aws.txt. Okay, whenever you want to rename the file, so this is how you rename the file. Okay, so for example, if you want to rename a file, mv source destination, which means whatever the file that you wish to change the name and with the new name. Okay, mv stands for move, and whatever the name that you want, and whatever the file that you want to change the name, and whatever the file name that you want to give, you need to give that. Okay, there are certain conditions here. These two are very, very important questions if you are applying for some junior roles. These kind of silly questions you'll ask, and these kind of silly questions, when we tend to work more with the machines, we tend to ignore them, but these are very important. Okay, so mv source destination. So let's try to see that first. Now mv, I would like to rename the file. Okay, I would like to rename the file, okay, devops.txt with aws with devops.txt. mv devops dot, okay, with devops hyphen with hyphen aws.txt. So I'm changing the name of the file. Okay, ls. Can you see this? The name of the file devops is renamed to devops.txt. devops.txt. Now what will happen here? See, case one. For example, we have changed the name of the file DevOps to DevOps with aws.txt. Okay. Now, if the destination, for example, whatever the file name that you're trying to rename, if it doesn't exist, okay, obviously it's going to rename the file. Keep this point in mind. Whatever the file name that you're changing, if this file, if it doesn't exist, it's going to rename. Obviously, there is no hurdles in that. But what will happen if the destination already has the same file? In Windows, if you try to save a file with the same name of the existing file, you'll get an error telling that, hey, I could see that the file with the same name already exists. You get an exception, right? Now in Linux, it's not like that. Okay, for example, if there is already a file devops.txt, if there is already a file with aws hyphen devops hyphen aws.txt, if you are renaming the file, that file is going to be overridden. Whatever the content that is present in the existing file with a devops-aws.txt is going to be overridden with the content of this file. So whenever you're using the move mv command, so you should be very careful. If the destination, that means if the file that you're trying to rename with the new name doesn't exist, it's going to rename. If the destination already exists, it's going to override the content. So that's the reason whenever you're using move mv, you should think twice. Okay, and in ls also there are other options as well. So for example guys, you can also create some files with touch secret.txt, touch.password. Now but when you hit ls, it's not going to show. Always, even any of the files that are starting with a dot won't be shown in Linux machines. Even in Windows machines, it's not going to show you unless until you explicitly ask to show hidden files, right? You'll get an option in Windows, right? Sometimes, usually kids when they want to hide something from their parents, okay, when you are a 90s or 2000s kid, you would have done that, okay? Whenever you want to hide something from your parents, whatever you're doing in computer, some files, like whatever you can do, you used to save it as a dot, okay, manu.xyz or dot abc.txt, like that. If you say in Windows, by default those files are hidden unless until you go to some options and say view hidden files, these files are not shown. Just like that, in Linux also, if you want to see the hidden files, you need to use something called as -a. A stands for it's going to show all the files. -a, then only it's going to show. Can you see this? These files I have not created. Bash history I have not created. Bash rc I have not created. All these files are already existing in the system, which are not shown. Usually secrets, hidden files are going to be starting with the dot. The whatever the dot files are not going to be shown directly with the ls. All right. Now, ls has some other extensions as well. ls hyphen help or man ls. It shows you a lot of options. So if you use ls followed by the option -a, it is going to show you all the options, okay, all the files, okay. And if you want to see a few other options, like if you want to see almost all do not implied, or you want to show everything apart from dot dot, you can also use that, okay. So among all, few other important options are LTR. Let me show you that. ls, for example, you're getting the options side by side, right? Instead of ls-l, if you use L, which is going to show you the list, okay? Rather than showing the files next to each other, it is going to show you the files in a list order. Can you see this? Guys, can you see this? Now, this is one way of representing the things. So what is this RW-RW-1, CentOS, CentOS 0? All these things we'll talk later. But for now, so this you need to understand the date and time of not just creation, the date and time when the file was lastly modified. Okay, this is the time which represents, most of the people will say that this is the date and time when the syst file is created. No, this is the date and time when the file is created. Okay, so another representation is you can also use t, you can put a timestamp. Okay, it's going to show you almost the same options but in a time format. Okay, so it depends on when it is created. For example, among all, the last identifier or the last modified object is this, right? So it's going to show you in the time recursive order as well. Okay, next, now this is showing you, okay, which one is created first, which one is showing next, right? But if you want to show in a reverse order, ls-ltr is going to show you in a reverse order, right? So whenever you want to see certain things, so this is one way of doing. Any questions, anyone? Okay, so R means reverse order while sorting. Okay, R means reverse order while sorting. For example, I would like to create, okay, so one more file just to prove, okay, this file is created now, this file dot text. Now if you use the same command ls-ltr, can you see this? The file which is created last is being shown. Okay, so if you want to identify which of the file is created, or if you want to find out only the last few files which are created, you can use ls-ltr. Almost all the people who are coming from Linux background knowingly or unknowingly will use ls-ltr to list all the files in the directory. Along with this, if you want to introduce the a as well, you can also use -a. Okay, you don't have to mention again -a. So since all of them are brothers now, you can use this. It's going to show you the hidden files as well. All right, perfect. Okay, now we know how to create a file, how to remove a file, and how to rename a file. And while renaming a file, what all needs to be considered, and what is a hidden file, and how can you see the hidden file. So these are the things that we have covered. Okay, now guys, you need to understand another important thing before proceeding. Okay, how the files are organized in Linux. Okay, basically it's called as a file system. Okay, what is a file system? Okay, so in Linux, how files are organized, let me show you that. For example, this is your disk. For example, if you assume this as your disk, okay, I'm talking about Windows. Okay, in Windows, how things are organized, that's what I'm talking about. If, for example, if this is your Windows machine, okay, for example, if this is your Windows machine disk, hard disk, for example, in this disk, for example, if you're having 500 GB, 500 GB disk or 512 GB disk, okay, how Windows categorizes, okay, for example, what Windows categorizes is, okay, so what you do is you want, okay, for example, you want 256 GB of C disk, C drive, you call it as a drive, right? So I want 256 GB of C disk where all my operating system, all my softwares are installed. Okay. Now next my 128 GB, I would like to use it for D drive, D disk or D drive. 128 GB, I would like to use it for D drive, and rest of them I would like to use for my entertainment, where I would like to play all my music, save all my movies, all these things, right? Okay, so 128 GB. Now whatever is being there, okay, even if you delete the operating system, still D and E are there. Even if you delete the D disk, okay, D partition, still the E and C are there. Even if you delete your operating system, rest of the files E and D drive are safe, right? But in Linux, it's not that way. It's in Linux, it's not that way. In Linux operates in a different way. Okay, the file system in Linux is little different. Okay, so it all starts with something called as a root. Okay, it all starts with something called as root. Okay, so Linux file system. This is how things are. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, this is one of the most common image that I'll use most of the times in trainings. Take this. This is how things are in Linux. You'll be having one disk. Okay, no doubt in that. You'll be having one disk. Okay, this is the same 512 GB disk, but they don't work like an independent unit. Okay, now whatever you see, okay, when someone says root, that is the first thing. Okay, almost bin, opt, root, dev, sbin, etc, srv, home are all the different Linux directories. For example, to make it more understandable, for example, if this is a disk, okay, this is a root directory. This is called as a root, and inside the root, okay, inside the root, okay, I have a structure like this, telling folders like this. Okay, this is my bin directory, and this is home directory, and this is my /tmp directory. You need to bear with me, I'm very bad in drawing things. And this is, for example, this is the mnt directory. Okay, this is how things are organized. But if you delete bin, that's fine, you lose the operating system. But if you delete the root directory, you are going to delete the entire disk. Okay, that's how things are organized. So the term root itself has a very meaningful meaning. For example, if you take a tree with a root, tree, for example, if you take a big tree with a root, okay, just take this example, copy the image. Okay, for example, if you take this tree, what do you mean by root? Okay, I'll cut the roots. What do you mean? That means I'm going to cut the source, right? So here, if you take this tree, okay, roots are here, right? Roots are here, which is nothing but the source. If you cut the root, the tree will fall down. Okay, here the root is the source. Even in Linux, keeping this in mind, they have created, when someone is saying root, that means they are referring to the source directory, and that's the reason they have mentioned root is a super user. Okay, root is a super user, and at the same time root directory is the super directory, which means everything is residing under the root directory, which means if you delete the root directory, which means you are deleting the entire machine itself. Okay, so this Linux file system, okay, how Linux things are organized is also very important, guys. Okay, in generally majority of the interviews they'll ask you, okay, where all the system operating system resides, okay, where all the, okay, where all the what do you say, where all the system related things reside, where all the system configuration resides. Okay, you need to understand it more. Okay, but it just consider it like a theory. Okay, you don't have to really understand what's going in the background, but root is a directory where almost all, everything, not almost all, everything is going to reside under that. Okay, so all the operating system related information, all the operating system packages are going to reside inside a directory called as /bin. All the bootable components are going to reside inside boot. All the root user components are going to store inside the root directory. Okay, and excuse me, excuse me, just let me have some water. Sorry about that. Yeah, so usually /root is a directory. Okay, /root is a directory which is the primary root directory, guys. Okay, which is a primary root directory, which is also called as a root users home directory. For example, if you go inside your system, inside the C, based on the number of users you have in your system, you have Santosh, public, Manoj, Lenovo, AWS. These are the different users that are there in the system, right? So all the Manoj user information is going to reside in the inside this directory. All the Santosh user information is going to reside inside this directory. All the, okay, Lenovo user information is going to reside in this directory. That means each and every user, as per the user activity, so they have their own directory where all the system information, where all the user related information is going to reside. Similarly in Linux, all the root user information is going to be reside inside the directory called as /root. Okay, which is not same as slash and /root, both are different. Slash is a root directory and /root is a root user directory. Okay, and bin, this bin is also very important, and all the command libraries. Okay, I'm going to publish you an article as well, don't worry on that. All the important binaries, okay, all the important commands like cat, ls, cp, all the commands are going to be residing inside this /bin. For example, if you type ls, it's going to show you its alias, not type cat. Can you see this? It's inside the slash directory, bin directory. Okay. Now, what I want to say, a few more things. For example, what exactly the boot contains? Boot contains all the bootable components like boot files. Boot is nothing but system startup files are going to reside here. And sbin, all the commands of the root user, whatever the commands that are used by the root user are going to be residing inside this sbin. And all the system configuration related files, what is the cpu, what is the system configuration files, okay, whatever the information that can be configured and changed, system configuration related information is going to reside inside the etc. Okay, inside the etc. So it's like system wide configuration files. Okay, and home is nothing but all the users home directory. For example, if you are having user called as Manoj, okay, his directory will be home Manoj. Example, we have a user called as home Mike. we have a user called as Mike. Mike. For example, we have a user called as home, Omkar. So all the users will have their own respect to home directory where their content will be saved. Okay, home is nothing but a directory where all the all the information of the respective users is going to shared. Okay, next is library. Library is like all the system libraries. Okay, library is nothing but small packages, consider that way. And whatever the devices that you are going to connect, the pen drives or the disks that you are connected to the Linux server are going to be stored here. All right, so here you slash user, inside the user these are there. What exactly it meant is, okay, so slash, okay, this is called subdirectories. Okay, so for example, this is root, and inside the root we have something called a slash user. Okay, inside the root slash user is there, and inside the slash user we have few more directories. Okay, and the directories are bin, lib, include, and sbin, like that. Okay, it's the same like your Windows hierarchy, but rather than going forward slash, it backward slash, but it goes with a forward slash. All right, so that's about the how the directory structure is organized. All right, as I said, in Linux everything is a file. Okay, everything is a file. So in total, okay, so yeah, that's what. Now we know how to create a file, but how do you create a directory? Okay, I'm not going to use the word folder. Folder is technically a Linux based, it's a Windows based word. So I would like to prefer using a directory. Directory is nothing but a folder in the Linux terms. So how do you create a directory? Okay, first of all, how do you come to know where you are? Okay, how do you come to know in which directory you are in? How do you come to know in which directory you are in? So PWD stands for present working directory. Okay, for the next 3 to 4 sessions, 2 to 3 sessions, we are going to learn in between 20 to 30 commands. Linux is a notion which has 10,000 plus commands. You don't know to everything. Okay, so in general we use just maximum 20 to 30 commands. So those commands can drive the whole show. Only those commands we are going to learn which can make life really easy and comfortable. Okay, coming back to the point, pwd is a command which helps you in knowing the present working directory, which it is nothing but in which directory you are in. For example, if I ask you the same question here, okay, for example, inside Manoj, so I'm inside, okay, I'm inside, okay, I'm inside, okay, so I'm inside something called as test. Okay, test. So if you ask me which directory I'm in, which folder you are in, you will tell you are inside C directory, and inside the C directory there is a folder called as users, and inside the users directory there is a folder called as Manoj, and inside the Manoj directory there is something called as test. So this is your present working directory or current working directory. If you want to know where you are, hit PWD. PW stands for present working directory. If you hit the PWD, it's going to show you you are inside home directory. Home is a common directory. Inside the home directory, you are inside. Okay, CentOS is a directory. So where you are in. So home CentOS is your present working directory. Now I would like to show you how to create your own directory. Now mkdir. So mkdir user A. Okay, this is a directory. Another directory I would like to create user B. In the directory I would like to create user C. Now if you hit ls-ltr, it's going to show you the number of files along with the directories. Okay, how can you differentiate between a file and a directory is, okay, just because on the colors. Some prompts may not show you colors, and the easy way to identify it is, okay, normal files starts with hyphen or dash, whatsoever it may be, and directories are going to start with D. D stands for directory. It stands for directory. Now I would like to remove a directory, or I would like to create. So right now if I create any file, okay, if I create any file touch, okay, ec2.txt, where it is getting created, lsf and ltr. So ec2.txt is created inside the directory home CentOS. Now what I want to do is I want to create a file inside the user directory. Okay, what I would like to do is I would like to create a file inside this directory. Now what I need to do? What I need to do? So another command that you need to learn is cd. Okay, we have learned what is cd, and next we need to learn what is pwd. Okay, so we have learned what is pwd. Next we'll try to learn what is cd. Okay, cd stands for change directory. Okay, pwd stands for present working directory, which is going to display which directory you are in. Okay, for example, if you want to move from one directory to another directory, you can use the command cd followed by the path where you want to move. Okay, cd, this will show you, this will take you to the home directory all the time. Okay, and let me show you that. So I would like to move inside the user A directory. Okay, inside the user A directory, copy this. So pwd, you are inside home CentOS. cd, it stands for change directory. Now I would like to use user A. Now this is going to take me to the directory which is inside it. Okay, now if you hit pwd, it shows you that you are inside home CentOS user A. You are inside the user A directory. You are inside the user A directory. Now I would like to create a couple of files. Touch, okay, touch, then it is touch ansible.txt, touch jenkins.txt, touch vault.txt, touch I love Linux. Okay, so in total I have created how many files? 4 files. Okay, in which directory these are in? You can see that these are inside the user A directory, and if you want to know in which directory exactly you are in full path of your directory, you can hit the command called as pwd. Pwd is going to show you in which directory you are in. All right, now I'll ask you one question. I don't want to be in this directory. I want to move to this directory. That means I want to go one step back, which means, for example, you are in this directory, right? Now I want to move one step back. I would like to, right now I'm in the test directory. I would like to move into the Manoj directory. So I click this, right? If you want to go to users, click it, right? That means you are going one step back. Similarly, in Linux, if you want to go one step back out of the directory, all you need to do is cd space dot dot. Dot dot means go one step back. Okay, I'm repeating, dot dot means go one step back. Okay, in Linux, okay, dot indicates present working directory. Okay, in Linux. Okay, so dot indicates present working directory. Okay, dot 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 space dot indicates go one step back. Okay, hyphen means hyphen means oh, hyphen means okay, go back to the previous directory. These are very important, so these should be used with okay next cd. Okay, cd stands for change directory. You can use in combination with cd. Okay, for example, I would like to go one step back. Right now I'm inside home CentOS user A. Now I'd like to go one step back. Okay, now if you hit the pwd command, you can see you are inside the home CentOS. Similarly, if you want to go one step back, again cd space dot dot. Okay, now if you see in which directory you are in, you're inside the home directory. Inside the home directory. So if you want to go back to CentOS directory, you can say CentOS. Or again, if you want to go to any other directory like Ansible, you can do that. Okay? This is how you can play between that. All right, guys. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to create one more file, touch. Okay, prometheus.txt. Okay, ls-ltr in user B, you have this. Now I would like to go to user B. Now cd user A. ls-ltr. That means inside the A directory, okay, you have these many files, and inside the user B directory, you have one file. Now, what I want to do is, I would like to copy the file, okay, copy the file present here to this directory. Okay, I would like to copy the file present in this directory to B directory. How can I do that? How can I do that? So, so so guys, what is the difference between copy and move in Windows? You can post your answers. What is the difference between copy and move? I know it sounds silly, but yeah. What is the difference between copy and move? All right. Copy works like copy paste, move works like move. Okay, exactly. So when you do a copy paste, okay, whatever the content that you're copying, for example, if you do a, for example, this is a file. Okay, so for example, this is a file. Okay, you did a copy and you paste it. The source still exists. Okay, for example, let's consider you have one more file. Okay, this is of red color. And when you do a cut and paste, okay, the moment you do the cut and paste, okay, if you do a cut paste, the source won't be there. Okay, control X and control V, it's not going to be there, right? Same thing in Linux as well. Rather than using commands, rather than using shortcuts or using the control C, control V options, you will be using these options. Now, now, now what I want to do is I want to copy the file jenkins.txt to user B directory. Okay, how can I do that? CP. CP is nothing but copy. Now I would like to copy jenkins.txt, and where I would like to paste, okay, I would like to paste it in the user B. Now where user B is, okay, he is one step back. That means, so user B is one step back. So put dot dot, that means go one step back and paste it inside user B. Okay, if you say this way, CP copy jenkins.txt and paste it inside user B directory. Okay, that means I'm telling you to go one step back, and go, after going to one step back, if you find the user B directory, paste it. Now if you go to user B directory, cd to user -b and ls-ltr, you can see the jenkins.txt. All right. Now, rather than using copy, if you use MV, it's going to cut and it's going to paste. For example, I would like to cut the file present in prometheus.txt, which is in the user B, and I would like to move it into user A. So MV has the capability to rename, and at the same time, it is also the same as cut and paste. MV in the background, okay, is doing a cut and paste. Okay, so for example, I would like to cut this and paste it in another folder called as user A. That's all. Now, if you see ls, it has been destroyed. That means it is cut and it's pasted inside user A. ls-ltr. Okay, now the Prometheus file is here. That's how CP and MV work. Okay, CPM and MV work. That's the difference between, okay, that's the difference between this and that, CP and MV, and that's how you create a directory. You create a directory. Now, what I want to do is I would like to show you how to delete a directory. For example, I have 3 directories: user A, user B, and user C. Now, I would like to delete the directory. Okay, rm is a command to delete the same. But for example, if you would like to delete a file, you can delete the file is deleted, gone. But if you use the same command for okay, for user B, okay, for example, user C, okay, there are no files in the user C. If you do that, what it says, okay, rm, okay, cannot remove directory. Whenever you want to delete a directory, you need to use r. Okay? R, when you use R, it's going to delete. Okay, user C directory is deleted. R indicates recursively. That means you're telling delete everything. Okay, so whenever you want to delete a directory, you need to use -r. Okay, for example, inside the user A and user B, you have files, right? Now, guys, if you want to see the list of files in user A, what you're doing, you're going inside user A, right? And you're executing ls-ltr, right? You don't have to do that operation in 2 steps. You can also do the same operation in 1 step. ls-ltr, you can mention that's it. Okay, / indicates that this is a directory. Even if you don't mention, that's fine. But if you mention, it's a proper thing. Okay, so whenever you're using subdirectories inside that, that makes more sense. Okay, now ls-ltr, it's okay, from here itself, it is going to list the, okay, directory files and the directories that are present in user A and user B directory. And that's how you do a copy paste between the directories, and that's how you move between the directories. All right, perfect. Now, next thing, this is very important with respect to interviews, even though we don't use in majority of the times, but it's always better to know. Better to know this. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you is, okay, directories. Okay, there are 7 types of files in Linux. Okay, there are 7 types of files in Linux. In fact, directory is also a file, okay, of type directory. Second. Okay, so in total, there are 7 varieties of files. I'm repeating again, in total, we have 7 varieties of files. And among all, okay, directory is also a file of type directory. That means in Linux, everything is a file. Each and every file has its own type. So among all, there are 7 varieties of files. Among all, top 2 are something which we use: directory file and regular file. And rest of them are files are link file, block devices, character files, socket files, and name files. These all top bottom 4 are something which are programmatic, mostly we don't use. So application developers or the Linux developers uses this often. So D stands for directory, hyphen, which is a regular file. L stands for shortcut. Okay, we'll see this in upcoming sessions. L is a shortcut. In Windows, you create shortcuts, right? For example, if your file is inside C, users, Manoj, your company name, 2022 pay slips, like that you'll mention, right? Rather than every time you go to that path, you can create a shortcut, and whenever you want, you can explore that, right? So same like that link is just a shortcut. Okay, that's called a soft link. All right. So whenever you're attempting any first technical assessments, online tests, this is one of the most common question: which among them is not a file type in Linux? Okay, or how many types of variants in file systems are there? Okay, particularly when you're applying for mid-level roles, you'll see this in first level of assessments when you're attempting any interviews in India. All right, and you know how to identify between a file and a directory. Similarly, each and every file of type link file, block file, character file, socket file, pipe file will have the starting characters, just like how you have it here. All right, guys, any questions? Wonderful. And we spoke about how to identify, how to switch between the directories, and how to add the disk, and how to add all these things, right? Now, if I take, for example, this is a server. Okay, this is a server where all my application team wants to use. Okay, so for example, you have created a lot of files and you have configured a lot of things, and you want to all your application users or all your project team to use this AMI. Okay, so there are 2 options where you can ask them to create a Linux machine and create all the files and change all the properties and use it. Or you can also make an AMI. If you take an AMI out of it, when you create a machine out of it, you get exactly same replica of this machine. Okay, let me show you how to take an AMI out of this. For example, this is my Linux practice server. Right now, what I would like to do is I would like to take a AMI. If you want to take an AMI, okay, how do you create your own AMI? When you create an own AMI, let me try to explain that. When do you create, when when in all situations you would create an AMI? Okay, so then we need a generic configuration for one X application or for one project team, or okay, or when you have some set of files that needs to be there, all the machines that you create, or whenever you want to preserve the system properties, or whenever you wish to preserve the properties. Okay, for example, as per your organization, okay, as per your organization policy, okay, on your Linux machine, you need to disable something. You need to disable some property. For example, disable some X property, okay, and enable, okay, some Y property, and you need to have a.txt, c.config, and some DevOps files to be created. Okay, so you have two options. Every time you create a server and you disable that X property and you enable that Y property, or whenever you want, you can create a.txt, c.config, and DevOps config file. Every time you do that manually, or create once and do all the system configuration and make an AMI. And whenever you want, you can use it. Just like how can you do that is come to the machine that you wish to make an AMI, come to the images and templates and create a template. Okay, now what you need to do is by default, okay, I'm repeating again, by default when you take an AMI, your AMI only considers a root volume. That means whenever you're making an AMI, your AMI by default only contains the root disk. Okay, if you want to add the other volumes also, you can add. Okay, that should not be an issue, but I'm only interested in root disk. So you can create an image. Now it asks you what is the name. Okay, you can say that app A. Okay, AMI for app A. Okay, AMI for app A. Just mention the date. So you created it on 23 Feb 2023. Okay, you can give some description as well to this AMI. This is created for, okay, app A team. Okay. You can also mention AMI maintained by Manoj. Okay, you can mention this. And now the moment you create an AMI, it's going to create your own AMI, which is going to reside in your AMI section. Okay, in the left window, you have an option called as AMIs, and in the here I have these many AMIs. Okay, this is the AMI which I have created just now, and if you see the status of it, it is in the pending state. Okay, and the time taken by the AMI depends on lot of parameters. Sometimes it will take 1 or 2 minutes, and sometimes it will take 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes as well. Okay, AMI creation is absolutely dependent on how busy your system is and how big the system is. Okay, these parameters you remember. Okay, AMI creation time is dependent on how busy your system is, how big your system is, how many number of disks you included. Okay, so always remember AMI only, AMI by default only includes the root disk. Okay, or boot disk. Boot disk is the right word, or boot disk or boot volume. Boot volume is the right word. Don't use it as disk. Okay, AMI creation time. Sometimes it will take 2 minutes, and sometimes it will take 5 minutes, and sometimes it will take 15 minutes. It all depends on how big your server is. Okay, so for example, once the AMI is created, okay, once the AMI is created, okay, you can either keep it as public or private. If you keep it as public, that means no one can access it. For example, I have created an AMI, right? CentOS 7 Linux Learning AMI. I have mentioned the visibility of it is public. That means anyone in the internet who has AWS access can search my AMI with the name CentOS 7 Linux Learning AMI. Okay, if you put it as private, only you can access, only you in this account can access. Okay, so usually in corporate, when we are making any images for the application, so we don't keep anything private public, we keep everything private. Okay, but since it is lab, I would like to publish the images to you guys. I'm keeping it as public. Okay, but in general, when you're working for production grade projects, none of the images will be kept private, because your own configuration, your own files, your own data, your own set of configurations, will keep them, you keep them private. Okay, always ensure when you are creating something or making something, give proper names and proper descriptions. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so yeah, I know too much of Linux will be too much overwhelming to you. So I think that's the reason I'm trying to mix both AWS concepts and Linux, and amalgamating them. And I'm trying to show you, since we are adjusted to a certain part of Linux, so we should be good to start. Okay, we should be good to learn few more aspects. Okay, and I'll keep it like this, guys. It will take 2 to 3 minutes of time, and once it is created, you're good to use. Okay, here can you see this, guys? AMI for app A 2023. Now here, okay, now here what I would like to do is I would like to make an machine out of it. Okay, launch instance from the AMI. I have selected that AMI and I'm going to make an AMI out of it. You can even tell I want 10 machines. The same configuration all 10 machines will have. Okay, Linux created from
So even the host name also get carried.
which one?
A host name, computer name will be get carried.
No, that will be changed. Okay, because we haven't changed it, right? So for example, here the host name is this one, right? The name that is given. So this keeps on changing for server to server and all. But instead, if you have given a name like app server A, okay, so then all the servers that are created by that AMI will have that. Okay, but since this is coming up by default, the host name is considered, okay, the private IP address which is coming up will be dynamic. But if you want to have a common name, you can also keep that. Okay, that's also doable.
Okay.
All right.
So so generally we have a sysprep in the Windows. Do we have anything in the Linux?
So when you say sysprep, what set of configuration you're looking for?
So when we wanted to create an image out of the
Uh-huh.
Windows machine, we do the
hmm
sysprep, which
hmm
remove the host name and the DNS records
Basically,
and
you're
the
calling as
system
reimaging,
ID.
right?
Right.
Yeah. So if you want to do that, okay, so what you need to do, you don't need that, okay, basically, because when you're taking an AMI, you're just taking the system configurations. Okay, and the basic idea behind it is I want everything as it is. And also here, if you see this, okay, so these things, some commands are running in the background, which is giving you the information for this. Okay, so when you create an AMI out of it, this property will be fetched by default, okay, from the system as per the IP address. So the host name is going to be changed. All right,
Okay.
but but as
Um,
I said, 1 minute. But as I said, if you want to carry on, you can carry on. I can show you. Okay, but by default it won't. But if you want to carry on, you can, because this property, whatever you see in the background, it executes one command to fetch this information, and it is going to execute some command to fetch the information from the system dynamically. The private IP address from server to server will change, right? Which is going to fetch from the system dynamically. But if you want to keep this property, okay, so just like how you are mentioning sysprep, okay, it also has something called as bash profile to keep all the common settings. Okay, for example, if you are Nikhil, all the Nikhil user settings, if you want to preserve, you can create something called as bash profile, which we'll talk tomorrow. And you can add all the settings, and when you create an AMI, the user will get all the properties. That can also be done. Did I answer your question?
Somewhat, when we create a virtual machine, we can see that.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'm not a Windows guy at all. Okay, maybe I might not address you in a way that you're expecting, because as I said, I'm not a Windows guy. So yeah, I'm
That's
more
not a problem.
I'm more on the top of Linux missions from the beginning of my career. So I'm not a Windows guy. Okay, but all I know is sysprep is something when you're installing some image or doing a reimage, you use it. So, but using system prep, you can remove some specific system information, right? The same set of information you can also do here. What exactly you're doing is that only. Okay. But if you want to carry on certain information, you can also do that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yep, yep.
Perfect. All right. Now the system comes up. My expectation is once the server comes up, okay, this is the server which was created from the AMI, and now if you copy this and connect to the server, people. So CentOS at the rate. Enter password. I think I entered incorrect password. Now you're connected, right? Now if you execute ls-ltr, you can see all of it. Can you see this? The IP address is different. Okay, 172.31.13.139. It's also different. Okay, answers your question?
Yes, Manu. Yes, got it.
Perfect. Perfect. Always keep this point in mind when you're taking an AMI. AMI by default only includes the root volume or the boot disk, not all the attached disk. If you want them to be included as a part of your AMI, you can. But by default, AMI is to capture the system configuration, not your data. Okay, AMI is just like is used to consider one image as a gold image for all your operating system, all your applications, right? So with your common set of configuration, it's a common set of files which you expect to run your application on all the images. So rather than you doing it a number of times, you configure all of it on a single machine and you'll consider it as a gold standard. All right, and that's for today, guys. And as usual, meeting link remains the same, and tomorrow session start the same time. All right. So any questions, guys? So as I said, meeting link remains the same, and tomorrow session will start at 7:30 a.m. IST as usual, or 9 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, that's for today, guys. If you have any questions,
Hey,
the floor is yours. If not, we are good.
Yeah, Manoj.
Manu, I have a question.
Sure. And also, guys, going forward, I have a request to everyone. I'm gonna mute you all. Whosoever wants to talk, please raise your hand. You have an option at the bottom, hand symbol, react. So the moment you raise your hand, I'll give you a mute option. Okay, so that you can unmute and talk. Okay, so just to avoid the conflict. Okay, the moment you click the hand button, I can see that you want to talk. I can unmute you guys and you can talk. Sounds like a plan? So that we can have some nice, what do you say?
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay, I would
So I
try
have a
to.
question, Manoj.
Sure, Shekhar.
Yeah, so before this, you explain we need to means if we wanted to switch any file from one of the directory to another directly, you
Uh-huh.
told there to dot dot to go to that previous directory.
Right.
Instead of dot dot, might be something else also we can that access that directory, because if dot dot whenever it will be apply, if we have opened that directory
Mm-hmm.
one step back, if we
Mm-hmm. Okay,
we wanted to
hold on.
access, in that case how we can access.
Uh, See, if you know the complete path, you can do, for example, ls-ltr of user A. Okay, user A. Okay, for example, one way is, okay, go to user A. Okay, this is one way. See the complete path. I would like to copy this, okay, from the prometheus.txt, which is present in user A, and move it to, okay, user-b Prometheus. Okay, that's also one way. That means you're copying the file prometheus.txt, which is present in user A, and you're pasting it here inside the user B directory. Okay, now if you see ls-ltr of user-b, okay, and if you're not comfortable with going back and forth, you can also give the complete path. Answers your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, but yeah, I'm trying to give you more shortcuts so that you'll type less keys. That's what my intent.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah, shortcuts comes with practice. So rather than you guys wasting time, I'm directly telling you the shortcuts. So yeah, and once you're done with the practice, guys, ensure you shut down your servers to incur less billing, even though it is a spot. Try to maintain the discipline of stopping the server when not in use. So that gives you some right set of motivation
Sir,
towards
actually,
maintaining your servers.
today I joined little bit late. Can I
Yep.
get this video recording
Every day
video?
you're getting the recording, right?
Okay, okay. Actually, I missed yesterday, so that's what I'm
Okay.
checking.
Every day you're getting the session recording, right?
Okay, let me check. Okay, yeah.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
no, I'm asking you. Every day are you getting or not?
No, no, no. Yesterday I didn't get. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think we are getting every day, Manoj.
Okay. What's your name, by the way?
Sri.
Can you please type your name? I didn't see
Okay.
your name because I could see a couple of system names like AJP, like AJ, AR, like that, rather than. Just please enter your name, and if you receive the meeting link from any specific person, please reach out to the coordinator. He should help you. He should be sharing you. Okay?
Yeah, sure. I
Maybe
sent
Sam or
my
Sudeep.
mail
Just
ID
please
also.
talk to them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. Thank you. And that's for today, guys. Okay. Thank you and see you tomorrow and same time,
Hi,
7:30
Manoj.
a.m. IST. Yeah, please tell me.
No, my question is related to the
1
server
minute,
creation.
guys. Just 1 minute. So I'll stop the recording so that we can extend the conversation so that we can limit the recording. Okay. And guys, and that's for today. Meeting link remains the same. Tomorrow session will start at 7:30 or 9 p.m. Okay. I'm stopping the recording, but people can stay still.